Hello everybody, we are going to continue on with this report. We are still working on 3208 Sweetbriar. We have just completed the site section and right now we're going to move on to the improvements section. This will be finishing up the first page of the report, which has everything to do about the subject property, the property that we're actually appraising. So in this case, you're going to be completing this before the appraiser goes out, and some of the information will likely end up getting changed after the appraiser goes out. But I'm going to just show you what we would like done prior to going out to the house. So over here in the general description, we're selecting the number of units. So again, for the most part, we're dealing with 1-unit properties. There are occasions where we'll have a property which has had what they call an accessory unit. It's like a mother-in-law suite that's been added on, or it's like a separate living area or apartment over a garage that's on the property or something like that. That's what an accessory unit is. But for the most part, it's going to be a 1-unit property. The number of stories, you will look at an MLS sheet. Again, this subject does not have an MLS sheet, so I'm just going to show you on a different MLS sheet where you might find that information. So this particular house, you can just look at the picture and see that it's a 1-story house. There's not 2 levels. There is also, you can look here. In this case, the agent put in the level that the room is on, and you can see that there are 1s here and there are 0s here. That is because if you look further down this, you will see that this house has a first level square footage of 2,051 and basement square feet of 1,476. These 0s are referring to the rooms that are on the basement. So that tells you it's still considered a 1-level property though, even though it's got a basement. It's only a 2-story or 3-story if there are 2 or 3 stories above the ground. So, and then here, right here, it says style basement ranch. Sometimes this will say 2-story. All right, another area to go look at to see about how many levels there are is going to be on the tax assessor report again. So we can come back over to it, and what you're going to go to the second page that talks about the actual structure, and you can see at the bottom of that second page it has a building computations. Actually, in this case it says stories 1, but if it doesn't tell you that directly right there, you can just look here. First level square foot, it's got a number in there. Additional level, it's 0. So that means there's 1 level. So all of that to get to a number 1 right here. Okay. So the type, the DET stands for detached, ATT stands for attached, and the S, this one is a semi-detached, or it's an end unit. So for the most part, we're dealing with single-family houses that are not attached. An attached would be like a townhome where they're connected. So in this case, it is a detached dwelling. If you have a question about that or need more information about how to determine that, you could leave it blank, leave a note for the appraiser to mark that, send an email, something to that effect to figure out what you need to do there. And then here we've got 3 options. Is the house existing? That means is it already built and finished? Is it proposed? That means are we doing this appraisal based on somebody's idea of a house they want to build, but there's not actually anything even started yet? Or is it under construction? Is it somewhere in the middle of proposed and existing? In this case, the house was built according to tax records. This house was built in 1963. So we're going to need that information too. So it's an existing house. And then I'm going to go ahead and skip down here to year built since I just looked at that and enter 1963. The effective age, I'm going to want you to leave that blank, and I'm going to have the appraiser be responsible for filling out the effective age, because that depends a lot on how well the house has been taken care of and any updating that might have taken place. The design, there is a whole training on design, so for now we're just going to leave that blank as well and let the appraiser choose. But you can see that there are different designs over here that we can select from. So we're leaving that blank, we're leaving that blank. You're not going to have any idea what kind of attic access there is, so you're not going to mark any of these boxes here. See, it's an attic, we've got none, drop stair, stairs, floor, scuttle, finished, heated. So you're not going to select any of those. Okay, and then foundation. We did look at that comp that had a basement. This house does not. It's just a single floor house. However, However, I'm not sure how you would determine the foundation unless it was listed in the MLS. So again, I'll just go back to this comparables sheet to show you where you might find the information. And that is going to be here. Again, it's in these boxes. You're looking for the substructure. In this particular comparable, it shows basement. It may also say slab, or it may say crawl space. In this particular case, since there is no MLS listing, I'm going to have you leave it blank. We're not going to put anything there. We do know, though, that there is no basement, so we'll hit 0 there. And then you're going to leave these boxes here. Outside entry, sump pump, evidence of infestation, dampness, and settlement. All of those are referring to the basement, should the property have a basement. So, and these are boxes that the appraiser would need to fill out. So you're going to skip completely over all of those boxes. All right, now we're down here to heating. Again, a lot of this information you're looking on the MLS sheet. So back to this comparables MLS sheet. Let's see what it shows. It shows heat. Oh, looky there. Central. It's got central heat, and it's got central air conditioning, and it even says gas for the heat. Okay, so we would put that information here. For central heat and central air, which is actually what is the case with most houses out here, you mark the FWA, that stands for forced warm air. And the cooling would be, you would mark the central air conditioning. I did look at, that was a comparables MLS listing. I'm going to go ahead and leave that checked. But if you could not determine, then you would just leave it blank and let the appraiser fill it out. Okay, so we've got 3 options for heat: FWA, HWBB, radiant, and then other. Sorry, that's 4. So if you knew that it was forced warm air, you would mark that. Otherwise, leave it blank. These others are hardly ever used. And then the fuel on it, that comparables MLS listing, it showed gas. So in this case, we don't know, so we're going to leave it blank. All right. Going down to the cooling, it's central heat, it's central air conditioning. Individual would be if it had window units at all. So it might say window in that air conditioning space on that MLS sheet. And then you would mark that box. Other would, I don't think I've ever marked other, so I would just skip over that. Okay, for the exterior description, again, going back to the MLS listing for that comparable, I'm just showing you where to find the information. It would be over here. It says construction. This is a full brick house with a basement, and then it doesn't, and then what it's looking for right here, the foundation walls, if it's slab, this is going to say concrete. If it's a basement or it's a crawl space, it's typically going to say concrete block. There's a couple, and for some reason these are not in the quick list, but they are here in this drop down. We have to describe what the materials are made of, and then we have to describe their condition. So again, if you don't know, leave it blank. The appraiser can fill this out in the field. That goes for this whole section. Exterior walls, we don't have an MLS sheet. I'm going to leave it blank. The roof surface, we don't have an MLS sheet. Same thing. I'm going to leave all of this blank because we don't have an MLS sheet to look at. I will show you. You're just looking for as much information as you can pull from these listing sheets. So it talks about appliances that are there. It has one gas log fireplace. This particular house does. Fence, central heat and air. It describes how many car garages there are. It's got, look, this one has different amenities that it's mentioning. So this one has a deck, it has a pool, it has a sprinkler system. It's close to a park. The driveway is concrete and it's circular. So on public sewer. So you're looking at all of this information and you're filling out this improvement section just as complete as you can get it for what you're certain about. Anything that you have a question about, you could leave a note, again up here, or you can leave it blank for the appraiser to complete. Again, we don't know any of this, so we're going to just leave it all blank. I won't know until I get out there, since that MLS sheet was for that listing. Okay, going on down, the additional features. This section, let me just stop for a moment. This improvement section, everything else on this form, subject, contract, neighborhood, site, is all the same, whether you're filling out a 1004 or a 2055, which is an exterior appraisal. When it comes to the improvement section, it differs just a little bit, and there's less items to fill out. I'll show you one of those in a different video, the differences in the 2055. I'll show you that in a different video. Okay, and then moving on down here, you're not going to know the square footage, the number of rooms. All of this gets filled out in the field by the appraiser. The additional features gets filled out in the field by the appraiser. The condition of the property gets filled out in the field by the appraiser. Same with, are there any physical deficiencies or adverse conditions? And then does the property generally conform to the neighborhood? All of this is going to be filled out. Actually, this one right here, does the property generally conform? We're going to say yes. And then because that's normally the case in 90% of the cases, occasionally the appraiser would be responsible for changing that to no and writing any comments that they felt was necessary. So that is going to bring us to the end of this this improvement section of the 1004. Thank you.